Hello friends, how are you? I hope all of you are doing really good. So welcome to Economics or Finance Excellency batch. So we have been discussing about the market failures, right? This is what we have been discussing about the market failures, and from the last two lectures we have been discussing about what are the reasons for the market failure, right? When we discussed about the reason for market failures, we say there are majorly four reasons. One is the market power, second is the externality, and both these reasons we have already discussed. Now, the third reason is the public goods. Let's try to understand now what is a public good, right? How it can create an externality, not externality, market failure, right? So let's try to understand about the public goods, and I hope that market power and externality are absolutely clear, because externality part is very important, and you are definitely expecting a 2 or 3 marks question from this chapter, right? A theory question either on the note on market power, on the externality, or one or two topics are more there, which we are going to do now in the public goods. There is a free rider problem on that. A theory question has been asked many times, right? So let's see. Public goods. What do you mean by public goods? Meaning is, theory of public goods is given by Paul A. Samuelson. A public good is defined as the one which can be enjoyed by anyone and everyone, right? It is open to the public. So as the name goes, public goods is any good which is for the public at large, right? So it can be enjoyed by anyone and everyone without any restrictions. A consumption of a public good by one individual leads to no subtraction from any other individual's consumption of that good. Example, everyone can enjoy in a park, which is a public good. Now, if you go to the park to enjoy the beauty of that park, right, is it possible that the beauty will be less for another person? No, sir. It will remain same for the other person also. There are flowers. You are enjoying the beauty of those flowers in the garden, right? The other person can enjoy the same beauty of those flowers in the garden. So that is a public good which can be used by anyone and everyone without any restrictions, and the consumption by one individual will lead to no subtraction for another individual. Okay. Right, sir. This is the in short, what is a public good, right? Now, let's try to understand the difference between the private goods and the public goods. What are private goods and what are public goods? Now, this is an important topic from examination point of view. An important one which can be asked in the examination, the difference between the private goods and the public goods. Okay. Now, meaning, what are the private goods? Private goods are which are owned by someone, right? And who is the owner? Only he or she can enjoy those goods, right? These goods which yield utility. Private goods are those goods which yield utility to a person who owns them, and hence the consumers must pay for them. So utility means only the person who is owning that goods, he or she can use those goods, right? If another person wants to use those goods, he or she will have to pay for that. Public goods involve the collective consumption, and no direct payment is to be done by the consumers. That at a point of time, many people can enjoy those goods. That is known as public goods, and there is no payment being involved, no direct payment being involved for the usage of the public goods. Then is the rivalry. This is important. This rivalry part is important in this. He says consumption is rivalrous. What do you mean by rivalrous? That is, purchase and consumption by one prevents another from consuming it, right? If one person is consuming a private good, then there are high chances that another person might not get the quantity that he wants, right? If you go to the market, let's say there are two chocolates lying in the basket, right? There are only two chocolates in the shop. Now, if you go and buy both of those two chocolates, right? If you go to the market, if you're going to that particular market in your area, there is one market only. In that market, there are only two chocolates left. You go to that particular supermarket and buy those two chocolates. Now, what will happen, sir? If another person comes after you who wants those chocolates, will he be able to buy that? No, sir. He will not be able to buy that. That is what is known as rivalrous. Rivalrous means if one is consuming those goods, it will be, the quantity will be less available for the another person. Whereas in case of public goods, the consumption is non-rival. That is, one person's consumption does not reduce the quality or the quantity for others, just as we take the example of enjoying the beauty of flowers in the garden. If you are doing it, it will not be reduced for another person. Another person can enjoy the same beauty, another person can enjoy the same flowers in the garden, right? So that is a public good. Rights. The owners can exercise the private property rights. That is, they can prevent others from using and consuming those goods. Obviously, sir, if you have a private garden inside your home, can you allow anybody going on the road to enjoy that? To come in, that's it, there, have tea, coffee? No, sir, right? That is what you are enjoying, the private property right, sir. It is my home, it is a private property. I have maintained my garden inside my home. That is my private property. I will enjoy it. Why will I let anyone going on the road randomly to come into my house and sit in the garden and enjoy the scene? No. Now, on the other hand, the owners cannot exercise the sufficient control over the asset. Example, if a person maintains his garden, he cannot stop the people from enjoying his garden view. See, the difference is there. In the first part, we are saying that anybody can come inside and sit in the garden and enjoy the coffee. No, sir, you can enjoy those rights. On the other hand, you have maintained your garden, you are the owner of that, but anybody passing through your home, he or she can look at it and enjoy and go through. Right? You can't stop the people from looking at your garden, right? One thing is, you can stop the people from coming inside, sitting in the garden and enjoying the tea, coffee there, right? That is your private property, but you cannot stop the people passing by that you should not be looking at my garden. No, you can't do that, right? So that becomes a public good from that angle. Now, divisibility. They are divisible. That is, you can buy the goods as a separate unit. For example, t-shirt, obviously, sir, and if you buy one t-shirt, it will be less for another person. These are indivisible. That is, the total amount consumed is the same for each individual. For example, the clean air. Now, clean air is a public good. It is not like that you will consume some part of clean air, then it will be less for another person. No, it is not going to be reduced. It is going to be equal for the another person also. Right? And it is indivisible. You can't say, sir, I need 1 kg of clean air. Can you say that? No, sir. I need 1 clean air. No, sir. Right? So clean air is open. Excludability. Now, again, this is important. Why these are important? 2 points I'm marking important. One is rivalry and another point is excludability. These 2 points are very important. Okay? Because based on the rivalry and excludability, we are going to further classify the goods. Okay? So these are excludable in the nature. That is, the private goods can be made exclusively available for only those consumers who pay for it. So in the excludability, we say that if you want to enjoy that good, you will have to pay for it. For example, there are a few parks, right, where there are games, there are slides and all those things, but you have to pay for the entry. Otherwise, you are not allowed to enjoy that park. Isn't it? There are water games, there are other slides and swings are there, all those things. So that becomes the excludability, that only those people are allowed to use those goods who are ready to pay for it. Whereas, are you going to pay for the clean air? No, sir, which is a public good. These goods are non-excludable. That is, it is impossible to exclude the individuals who do not pay for a public good. Can you say to a person that if you will not pay, you will not get clean air? No, you can't do that. Right? So if you talk about the private goods are excludable. Whereas if you talk about the public goods are non-excludable goods. Right? One second. Yeah. Then aggregate demand. Aggregate demand is total consumption is equal to sum of each individual's consumption. Market demand curve is obtained by the horizontal summation of the individual demand curves, that what an individual is demanding. Let's say the t-shirts. Now, what will be the total aggregate demand of the t-shirts? Whatever the people are demanding, people are paying, ready to pay for it. And whatever the people are, consuming, the individual's consumption, if you sum total it, you will get the aggregate demand. But in this case, total consumption, how can you identify that how much of the clean air is being consumed by the individual? Is it possible to do that? No, sir. How much of the garden view an individual is enjoying? Is it possible to do that? No, sir. It is not possible to do that. So total consumption cannot be determined since the goods are not consumed individually. There is no meaningful demand curve for these goods. You cannot identify the demand curve for these goods. Then additional cost, the additional resources are required in order to produce the additional quantities of the goods. Like we say that if I buy one t-shirt, then it will be less available for the another person, right? But at the same time, if it is to be available for the another person, you will have to produce more. If you want to produce more, obviously the extra cost will be there. Yes, sir, it is going to be there, right? But in case of public goods, I am consuming the clean air, right? I am consuming the clean air. Will there be any cost for production of extra clean air for another person? No, sir. It does not involve any additional cost for the consumption by more and more people. It does not involve. Rejection, the consumers can reject them if their needs or the preferences change. Now, if I go to the market, right, there are 100 t-shirts lying there. I buy only one t-shirt which I like it. So I am rejecting the other t-shirts, right? Because my preference is not for that. But if there is clean air, can you reject the clean air? Can you say that, no, I don't want the clean air, go clean air, go? No, sir. By the very nature, there is no possibility of rejection by the consumers. If there are flowers in the garden, can I, reject to enjoy the beauty of those flowers? No, I can't do that. Clear? Incentives. The competitive markets provide enough incentives to produce and supply the required quantity of the private goods, leading to efficient allocation of resources. Now here, if you know the demand, what he's trying to say is there are competitive markets. Competitive market means there are number of producers who are manufacturing those t-shirts, right? So there is a strict competition. For the competition, everyone is trying to produce what is being demanded, right? So which can lead to the efficient allocation of resources, but in reality, it does not happen. We have already studied about it, right? In the last chapter, we have already studied about it, that demand and supply obviously can't, determine this efficient allocation of resources. Now, talking about the public goods, if left to the market, market means the demand and supply. These goods will not be produced at all, or will be underproduced due to the lack of any incentives, leading to misallocation of resources. Now, there is a private firm. Let's say there is a private firm who is a manufacturer of the t-shirts. Why that firm will be interested in maintaining the clean air or maintaining the particular garden? Why that firm will be interested? No, sir, that will not be interested. Why? Because out of the private goods, they will be earning the profit, but out of the public goods, they will not be getting anything in return. And the private player says, okay, what is there? The market says, I am doing the business to earn the profits. What will I get if I am maintaining a garden, if I am, taking all the responsibility of maintaining the clean air? Why should I take the responsibility? Let people do whatever they want to do, right? So that is what he says, that if left to the market, there will be no production of the public goods. Clear? Freerider problem. So there is a separate, another very important topic, and this can come as a separate topic for 2 to 3 marks. Right? We will be discussing separate as a separate topic also. So Freerider problem is, these do not have the Freerider problem because you have to pay for buying it. It is not a free item because it will be available to only those persons who are willing to pay for it. But in case of public goods, there is no payment. These are generally more vulnerable to the issues like the externalities, inadequate property rights, and the Freerider problem. So we will discuss it as a separate topic also. What is a Freerider problem? Okay. Examples: cars, jewelry, house, food items, etc. You have to pay for it, and the consumption by one person obviously reduces the quantity for another person. Okay. On the other hand, public goods, national defense, roads, parks, etc. Sir, if you are using a road, the another person can use the same road by the same quantity, right? It is not going to reduce. Alternatives names, it is these private goods are also known as market goods, whereas the public goods are also known as collective consumption goods or the social goods, right, which the society can use collectively. That is why these are known as collective consumption goods or the social goods, right? So this is important from the examination point of view. The private goods versus the public goods, go through this once very carefully, right? Now it says the classification of public goods. The classification of public goods is based on basically two things. One is the rivalry, right? On this side, we are taking the rivalry, and on this side, we are taking the excludability. So basically, the classification of the public goods, that whether it is a public good or not, whether it is a private good or what, it is dependent upon the rivalry and the excludability. So what is rivalry? We have seen that rivalry is that the consumption by one person will reduce the consumption for another person, will reduce the available quantities for another person. And what is excludability? Excludability we have discussed. Excludability is that you will have to pay for it. If you are not going to pay for it, then you will be out of the system. You will not be able to use that particular good. Okay. So now, if a particular good is rivalrous and at the same time that particular good is excludable, that means what? Is it a public good? No, sir. It is a pure private good, rival and excludable. For example, food items, clothing, phones, cars. One thing, you will have to pay for it. Secondly, if you will buy one item, then for another person, one item will be less, right? Let's say you go to a market, you go to a showroom, you buy one car, right? Now for the another person, that same car will not be available, right? Another car will be available, that is absolutely fine. But one car is now less for the other consumers. Then the second category is, this is the first category. The second category is that it is rivalrous, means the consumption by one person will reduce the consumption for another, but it is non-excludable. It is non-excludable, rival and non-excludable. For example, the common access resources such as the forest resources, minerals, public roads, public parks. Sir, you cannot exclude it. You cannot ask for the payment. Let's say you want to use the public road. Forget about the toll tax. Forget about the toll tax. There is a road around your home. Can someone say that you cannot use it, but the minerals are there, the forest resources are there, but these are rivalrous. Rivalrous means that if one person is using that particular road, what will happen, sir? If let's say there are 100 vehicles on a particular road, what will happen? There might be congestion and you might not be able to use that particular road. Then in that particular sense, it is rivalrous. Minerals, forest, let's say there is wood in the forest, you cannot exclude it. You cannot say that you will have to pay for that, go to the forest and get that wood. For the people living around the forest, they cannot be excluded on the terms that they will have to pay for it. But there is rivalry in the sense that if one person is consuming that particular wood, it will be less available for another person, right? Then the third category is, this is the third category, category 3, that is, it is non-rivalrous. Non-rivalrous means the consumption by one person will not reduce the consumption by another person, but these are excludable. You will have to pay for that, right? These are known as impure private goods. One is the pure private goods, another one is the impure private goods. Impure private goods means which are non-rivalrous, right? Which are non-rivalrous, which are not satisfying both the conditions of the private goods. The private goods says private goods are rivalrous as well as excludable. But here he's saying non-rivalrous, that means the consumption by one person will not reduce the consumption by another person, but the person who has to use that good, he has to pay for that. Example, the club goods, cinemas, private parks, etc. Right? Let's say a cinema ticket. Cinema tickets are, there are multiple halls. Today, let's say you want to watch a particular movie. You can buy a ticket and watch it, right? So you will have to buy a ticket. You will have to pay for that. That is why these are excludable, non-rival. Why, sir? You will buy a ticket. Another person can also buy a ticket. The third person can also buy a ticket. Once the hall is full, they can buy for the another hall, right? So the tickets are available in abundance. That is why it is known as non-rivalrous. Club goods, there is a club, you have to get the membership of the club. Once you get the membership, all those who are the members, they can use it anyhow, right? It is not like you want to play the golf in the club, the playing of golf by one person will reduce the playing of golf by another person. No, it is not going to happen, right? Then we have the category 4. The fourth category is non-rival and non-excludable. These are known as pure public goods, where there is no rivalry, no excludability. You don't have to make payment for anything, and the consumption by one person will not reduce the consumption for another person. That is national defense, knowledge, etc. Now, if you are getting the knowledge, you cannot say that the another person, your friend, cannot get the same knowledge. He or she can, right? Even without paying, you can get the knowledge. So this was the broad categories of the public goods. Now moving into the depth of it. The various types of public goods. One is the pure public goods, which we have discussed, right? That pure public goods are non-rivalrous and non-excludable. This fourth category, right? This is category 4 that we have already discussed. That one who does not pay for such cannot be excluded. But these goods are rarely found in reality because hardly any good satisfies both the characteristics of being a pure public good. So they say in reality, either the consumption by one person will reduce the consumption for another, or you will have to pay for it. So in reality, the pure public goods do not exist. That is what they want to say. Okay. Then comes the impure public goods. What are the impure public goods? These are the hybrid goods which possesses the features of both the public and the private goods. But what type of features are there? They are partially rivalrous. The consumption by one person reduces the benefits received by the others, but it does not completely eliminate these benefits. That is why they are saying these are partially rivalrous. That if you are consuming a product or a service, it will reduce the benefits for the another, but it is not like the another cannot use it. Another person can use it, but with the reduced benefits. That is why it is the word here used is partially rivalrous. For example, the Wi-Fi network. If you are using the Wi-Fi network, obviously the speed will be reduced for another person, but it is not like that he cannot use it. He or she can use it, right? Cable television, admission to a cinema hall. Now, admission to a cinema hall is restricted. He or she can use it, but dependent upon the number of tickets. Right now, let's say in the cinema hall, there are multiple tiers of the seats which are available. You buy a VIP seat. Now that VIP seat is not available for another person. Now another person can use the same hall, can buy the tickets, can watch the same movie, but with the reduced benefit that that person will not be able to buy the VIP ticket now. Right. So that is what is known as partially rivalrous. These goods are often excludable. They are partially rival and excludable. Excludable means they will have to pay for it. Possibility of exclusion makes it possible to avoid the Freerider problem, right? That everything cannot be provided free of cost. Now you understand one thing here. Sir, what is that one thing? You people are smart enough to understand that everything can't be provided free of cost, right? Due to excludability, the provider of these goods can regulate the number of people as well as the frequency of use by the people, that how many people can use it at a time and how many times a people can use it, right? Impure public goods are further classified into club goods and the variable used public goods. What are the club goods? These goods are replicable. That is, the individuals who are excluded from one facility may get the similar services from another provider. Like the swimming pools, if one swimming pool is full, you can go to another swimming pool and learn from there. Internet provider, if you are not getting, if you are not getting the connection for the Jio Wi-Fi, you can go for the Airtel, right? So there are alternatives which are available. Obviously you will have to pay for it, otherwise you will be excluded, but the alternatives are there. That is why these are known as replicable, that the same service can be taken from another one. Fitness centers, if you're not getting the membership of a gym, then you can go for another gym, right? Variable use public good, these goods are non-replicable, that is there is no equivalent provider for the similar services. These can be excludable or non-excludable. Once provided, everyone can use these goods. For example, the roads, bridges, and etc. Sir, excludable, sir, you will have to pay the toll if you want to use a particular road. That is excludable. Non-excludable is you can use it anyhow, there is no toll tax on that. Clear? So it can be excludable and it can be non-excludable. The roads, sir, if there is a, let's say you want to go from particular location A to location B, there is only one route of going that. Now, if there are 100 cars on that particular route, even if there is congestion, you will have to wait for that. Because you have to use that road only. It is not that you will take up the road and go to, put it on the alternative route. No, you can't do that. Clear? So these are the impure public goods, and these particular items, whatever we are studying in this lecture, these are very, very, very important from examination point of view. Please keep this in mind. Okay. Next is the quasi-public goods, that is the mixed goods. Quasi-public goods are those which have most characteristics of the private goods and some benefits of the public goods. So be very careful in the differentiation between the impure public goods and the quasi-public goods, right? So in the impure public good, we say both the characteristics are there, but in case of quasi, we say more of the characteristics of the private goods and some benefits of the public goods. These are also known as near public goods because they can be called public goods, sir. In this case, the external effect associated with the consumption of the private good has the characteristic of the public good, that how the consumption is being done, that is based on, it is a private good, but the consumption is based on the characteristics of the public goods. Example, education. Education. Sir, education improves on individuals' earning potential. That is a private benefit. But at the same time, it may lead to other public benefits like creation of a better society. On one hand, there is a private benefit to this, right? And this is excludable normally. Normally, in the practical scenario, this is excludable, that you will have to pay for to get the education. It improves the individual's earning potential. That is the private benefit that individual will be getting. But at the same time, with the education, that individual will become a better person to be in the society, which is going to be a public benefit. That is why known as the consumption of a private good has the characteristics of public good, right? Then health. The vaccine taken by one person against a disease, that is the private benefit. He is taking the vaccine for his benefit, that he does not catch that disease, but at the same time he is benefiting the entire society as it reduces the chances of another person getting infected by him. And the biggest example here is the COVID vaccine. The biggest example here is the COVID vaccine. That once a person, why we have taken the COVID vaccine, so that we are not spreading the COVID virus to the other people, right? We are vaccinated against it. One is the private benefit, that I am not getting the COVID, right? Another thing is I am benefiting the society at large, that if I get the COVID, I will not be spreading to another person because the impacts will be less due to vaccine. It is possible to exclude the non-payers from consuming these goods. That is why I told you this is excludability. You will pay for it, you will get the vaccine. You will pay for it, you will get the education. However, it is undesirable to keep people completely away from these goods, as it will lead to reduction in social welfare. You cannot say that everyone has to be excluded, right? There has to be some concessions. That is why the vaccine or the education, we say education is free for some sectors, paid for other sectors. Vaccine, sir, it is subsidized for some people, it is at full rate for some people who can afford it. So it is not desirable to keep everyone away from it, right? Even if they're not able to pay it, you have to manage the things in such a way Otherwise, it will lead to reduction in the social welfare. You cannot 100% exclude people. Some quasi-public goods are sold in the market while others are provided by the government. Some of these goods are sold in the market by the private players and some is done by the government. The markets for the quasi-public goods are considered as incomplete markets with a limited information, since the private producers do not tend to provide adequate quantity of these goods, leading to market failure. Sir, obviously, if that good, once we say that it is undesirable to keep everyone away, it will lead to reduction in social welfare, then somehow the government might put the pressure on the private players that you have to produce it for the society, you have to produce it for the social welfare, even if the private players are not earning out of it. So they are not really interested in it. They say we will be producing the goods, not keeping in mind the overall society welfare, but keeping in view whatever the profits that we are going to earn out of it, right? So these are the quasi-public goods or the mixed goods. Now, next is the common access resources. Market is important for examination point of view. The small part, these are the impure public goods which are non-excludable and rivalrous in nature, which are non-excludable and rivalrous. That means anybody can enjoy it, nobody has to pay for it, but once it is used, it is less available for another person. These goods are generally available for free, that is the river water or many other natural resources. Since these goods are available free of cost, there is a risk of overutilization. Sir, we have the habit, wherever we get something free, you will see the maximum crowd going there. So what will it lead to? It will lead to overutilization of those resources, right? Obviously, overutilization by people, it leads to depletion of these goods and adversely impacts the amount of common access resources available to future generations. Right now we are very much aware of this thing, that overutilization of people, overutilization of the things by people, it will lead to, obviously it will lead to depletion of the goods for, and nothing will be left for the future generations. This is referred to as the tragedy of the commons. This is important, sir. Why this is why this topic is important, because in the examination it can be asked that what is the tragedy of commons, whereby the rivalrous but the non-excludable goods are overused to the disadvantage of the world, right? For example, the minerals, the forest resources, which are free of cost available, you cannot exclude it. The excludability factor is not there, but the overutilization of that, if you are going to utilize, because it is available free of cost, you are going to overutilize the wood from the forest, then what will be left for the future generations? Nothing will be left for the future generations, right? So this is the common access resources or the common pool resources. Next is the global public goods. Global public goods is which is the public goods at the global level, at the world level. Public goods, the benefits of which accrue to everyone in the world, are called the global public goods, right? These goods have the widespread indivisible impact on the different countries and the regions, population groups and generations. So it is not restricted to a particular area. The benefits of this can be, these are spread around the world. There is no mechanism, either market or government, to ensure an efficient outcome. So obviously, when you have the widespread coverage of those, one particular market or one particular government cannot control it. WHO, the World Health Organization, identifies two categories of the global public goods. One is the final public goods, which are the outcomes. Example, the eradication of polio. Now, the outcome, if the polio is eradicated, now it is going to benefit the whole world. Obviously, it is not going to be restricted in the particular area, because this is the problem which the whole world is going through, isn't it? For example, if not polio, the COVID, the whole world is suffering from COVID, and if the COVID is eradicated, what will happen? The whole world will get benefited from it. Now, this is the outcome. That is what is known as the final public good. One is the intermediate public good, which contribute to the provision of final public good. For example, the vaccine for the COVID, right? Once the vaccine was launched, it is now the vaccine is going to benefit the whole world. It is not going to be restricted to a particular area, because one country can buy the vaccine from another country and use it there. So this is what the final product is: eradication of COVID, and intermediary is what? The vaccine being provided for the COVID, right? So intermediate is contribute to the provision of final product. Example, the international health regulations aimed at stopping the cross-border movement of communicable diseases and thus reducing. So this is, again, there are some guidelines which are provided that how to avoid the cross-border movement of communicable diseases, that if the person is having a communicable disease, he or she should not be allowed to travel to another country by air, right? So this is again an intermediate public good. Another example, very good example here that I have given is the COVID vaccine, right? COVID vaccine is there. Now the World Bank identifies 5 areas of global public goods that where the global public goods can help. One is the environmental commons, that is the environmental benefits can go across the generations, across the countries. Prevention of climate change and the biodiversity. Sir, the climate change is not impacting any particular area. The climate change, the impacts of the climate change is impacting. They are, it is being felt by the whole world. Then as the communicable diseases, including the HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, avian influenza, and now the COVID is there. COVID is also part of the communicable diseases that you need to focus on these particular global public goods. International trade, very important topic, sir, and we have a separate section on this. International financial architecture, global knowledge for development, that these are the public goods which anyone can take, and this is going to benefit the whole world, the different nations at the same time, right? So global knowledge, financial architecture, trade, we have been getting the Zoom meetings across the world are going on for sharing the knowledge, right? So all those things, these are the global public goods where the benefit is across the borders. So these were the various types of the goods. Now these are very, very important from examination point of view. Pure public goods, impure public goods, quasi-public goods, common access resources, and then the global public goods. Now, last topic of this lecture is the Freerider problem. Again, very important from examination point of view. As a separate topic, it can be asked, the Freerider problem. Now, free riding is benefiting from the actions of the other without paying for it, right? Someone has maintained or made a product and the others are just enjoying that without any payment. Now, that is a free rider problem, that anybody can ride on that property, right? Anybody can come, anybody can enjoy, you cannot exclude it, you cannot charge it. So that is for the public goods. This is a big problem, that everyone wants to enjoy it, but no one wants to pay for it. Now, with this problem, why it is called a problem, sir? It is a good thing if one is maintaining, everyone is enjoying without paying it. Why there is a problem? So there is a problem because the private players, the private companies, the private players will not manufacture these goods, because they will say, what is the benefit or what is the profit that we are earning out of it? Nothing. So free rider is a consumer or the producer who does not pay for the non-excludable good because he expects that others will pay for it. Why should I pay for it? Let others pay for it. Let others pay for the maintenance of a particular garden. I'm just here to enjoy it. Applicability of public goods. It is possible to consume these goods without paying for them due to the non-excludability. Already studied, sir. Individuals tend to act in their own interest and there is no incentive for the people to pay for the goods. Sir, you are going to the park. You want to enjoy the beauty of that park. Are you really interested in paying for the maintenance of that park? No, sir. What you are interested in, you are mainly interested in that I am here to enjoy the beauty. I will enjoy the beauty. Whosoever wants to take the responsibility of maintenance, they will do it on their own. Why should I be responsible for everything? Right? If all the people play the same strategy of free riding, that others will pay, I will not pay, I will enjoy it for free of cost, nobody will be willing to pay for these goods. Ultimately, the free riding by everyone will lead to no provision of such goods by the market. That is what I told you. Why the market will, provide such goods? The market will pay. Market will say, if you are not ready to pay for it, why should we be providing it? Although public goods are valuable for the people. They will not be produced by the private markets due to the problem of free riding. The private firms will underproduce the public goods, leading to market failure. Clear? So this is how the public goods will lead to market failure. This will lead to market failure, right? So we have discussed about the public goods, and now we have discussed due to the free rider problem, this is the public goods can lead to market failure. Okay, so we have done another reason for the market failure. Now we are left with just one reason of the market failure. That is what? That is the incomplete information, which we'll be completing it in the next lecture. With that, our chapter will be complete. Chapter number 4 will be complete with this incomplete information topic. Very simple topic, a small topic. We'll do it in the next lecture and complete this particular chapter, right? So see you guys in the next lecture. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, keep studying, keep sharing. Thank you so much.